From the Yonkers Statesman, October 24, 1916. Headline: The Common Council sustained the 15-day ordinance. Efforts to repeal the so-called 15-day ordinance, which prohibits the employment of conductors or motormen on the local trolley cars until they have had at least 15 days' experience in operating over the various lines of the Yonkers Railroad Company, were again unsuccessful at the stated meeting of the Common Council last night. The aldermen, after a prolonged hearing, in which representatives of the striking carmen and various citizens participated, by a vote of 7-3 refused to adopt the ordinance introduced by Alderman Davis at the last meeting of the council, which would have repealed the ordinance which has been on the statute books since 1908. The announcement of the vote by Council President Stahl evoked a demonstration by the striking carmen and their sympathizers. It was about midnight when the vote was taken. Never before had there been such a crowd in the council chamber as was present last night. The trolleymen and their friends were early at the hall, and as a result occupied most of the seats reserved for spectators. Representatives of all sections of the city, including many women, were present. In the crowd were members of the Chamber of Commerce and the different tax-paying bodies of the city. The following communication from Mayor Lennon was then read. Quote, Pursuant to appointment, I went to the office of the 3rd Avenue Railroad Company in New York, accompanied by Mr. Samuel Untermeyer and Assistant Corporation Counsel Max Cohen, to confer with Mr. Whitridge with a view to a possible settlement of the strike. We had previously held a conference with the representatives of the employees of the company in order to learn from them the terms under which they would resume the operation of the cars. We suggested to Mr. Whitridge that we could very probably secure the resumption of traffic if he would be willing to restore conditions to what they were under the agreement of August 7, a return to work, confer upon conditions, and arbitration of matters upon which agreement could not be reached. After protracted discussion, Mr. Whitridge stated with finality that no man would be allowed to return to work until he had resigned his membership in the union, and with the understanding that if he ever joined again he would be discharged, or, as he has stated in public print, for the future, no member of the Amalgamated Society of Street and Electrical Railway Employees of the United States of America will be employed on any of the lines over which I have jurisdiction. Unquote. Headline: New High School Needed. The following are excerpts from the report submitted to the Board of Education by Charles E. Gorton, Superintendent of Schools. Before the committee decided that the high school should be built in the northern section of the city, I prepared and submitted a statement showing the residence of every pupil in the high school coming from 10 square miles of territory. The committee also considered the means of transportation to proposed sites and accessibility in all particulars. It seems to me that the committee had before it every element necessary for a decision, and that its conclusion cannot be assailed by anyone in possession of the facts. There is no economy of administration in building an annex to the present high school. The committee said that a new school should contain both sexes. That conclusion also appears to be questioned. Every high school in this state except New York City is coeducational, and every high school in the Great Middle West and West except 4 in Chicago is coeducational. It is a safe assumption that the question of coeducation in this country in its practical aspect is settled, that the public mind was made up and not likely to be shaken of its convictions. Coeducation of sexes is simply part of a great worldwide movement to wipe out the distinctions of sex and to place women on an equality with men. And that's the news from Yonkers 100 years ago today.